social layer stopped valuing decentralization, we wouldn't really have the same sort of properties we do now. This is the importance of it all. So I'm going to start by getting into some of the boots on the ground aspects of community building from what I've seen during my time in this space. And then we'll get into ways to leverage current scaling technologies to scale the community while we maintaining that cypherpunk ethos. So I was happy to see that Midjourney is not so politically correct. When I type in the Twitter bird exploding, it wouldn't say something like, well, birds are nice and you shouldn't explode them. It did give me an exploding bird. But the idea is meat space matters. Unfortunately, right now our space is very crypto-centric, or Twitter-centric. A lot of the discourse happens there. This incentivizes very loudly shared opinions, overly simplified, emotional stuff. You have shelling points of conversation around a few influencers, and it's kind of a far cry from how things used to be in the old days of Ethereum. We'd all kind of hang out on Reddit and have nice discussions. The antidote to some of this is certainly just hanging out in person, just like we're doing here. You know, it's cool to be online. Everybody, you know, every day you get on and say whatever you want, but when you're here, when you're at an event, there's a vibe, and it's great. Meet space matters. So it would be awesome if there were more meetup communities and more crypto communities on a local basis. The grassroots is so crucial. These are a couple of key things I learned and that I would recommend to anybody looking to start their own crypto community or ETH community. It's simple but effective. Consistency. Every month or two, have a meetup, have an event. Get that drumbeat of things going on. Free pizza and beer. I can't stress this enough. People don't want to learn or meet people if they're hangry. It's nice to provide some social lubrication, free pizza and beer. Good messaging, explain what the meetup's going to be about, and then afterwards follow up with some like, hey, these are some resources, this is what we talked about. The messaging is important. It's good to tap into unmet demand. When I started the Ethereum meetup in 2014, there was no ETH community here, but there was a strong Bitcoin community. Kind of gave me a hunch that something would flourish here around ETH. If you'd like to start an ETH meetup, but there's already one generally, but you still would like to lead something, consider doing like a niche meetup, maybe something around developers or NFTs or whatever your interest is. And finally, these are opportunities to embody and educate around the crypto values. You know, as newcomers come in, this is an opportunity to explain, hey, this is why decentralization is important. I was talking to some friends last night, some dear friends I've had for a while, and they were involved in Hex. And they didn't understand that Hex is the opposite of that. So there's a lot of room and opportunity to educate around this. In terms of the vibe, keep Ethereum plur, using a rave term here: peace, love, unity, respect. What I really mean by this is Ethereum has done a fantastic job culturally of always welcoming civil discourse and just creating a really good vibe where people might have big disagreements over different issues, but at the end of the day, you know, it's civil discourse wins the day. It's a sense of mutual respect for the most part. This is a very far cry from what we saw in the Bitcoin space on multiple occasions, you know, where we had the big block size debate. We've had so many instances of that not being the case, and it's a huge detriment to any ecosystem to do that. So keep Ethereum plur, keep it respectful. At the same time, it's important to prevent a monoculture. By that, I mean, to the average outsider here in Denver who doesn't know what we're doing, they see a bunch of people running around in like rainbow shirts and unicorn onesies and stuff, and this is kind of our culture. And that's cool. It's kind of an extension of our own brand at ETHDenver, and it's crypto. But it would be a shame if that's all there was. It's important, especially as a credibly neutral social layer and network, that all people are welcome, and there should be little sub-niches. Like, I would love to see, like, goth stuff going around, and, like, this crazy stuff, cyberpunk. Let's embrace it all. This goes beyond aesthetics, because if we have a monoculture, then you have a situation where the community starts to enforce values on others. This can lead to gatekeeping. It can lead to sort of litmus tests. We've seen plenty of that at Bitcoin, and we do not want to go down that route. Fortunately, Ethereum's technology and properties give us the ability to avoid a monoculture. Open source and censorship resistance is a powerful combination to avoid that. Farcaster is a perfect example. So Farcaster, an open source protocol that's sufficiently decentralized on which you can build different clients. So Warpcast is the biggest one right now. Let's say Warpcast decided to enforce its own values and start censoring certain things, maybe just around the next Ethereum hard fork or whatever it was. People using that would get frustrated, but the beauty of Farcaster, somebody could simply go to a different client that wasn't censoring those opinions. It could nurture a different community vibe, or maybe they would build one. So these two properties could really be tapped into to avoid that danger of a monoculture and a litmus test that could be so poisonous to the ecosystem. At this point, I'm going to get a little bit more kind of technical. We're going to go away from like boots on the ground, grassroots, to sort of like more use cases. So let's think beyond DeFi. Here's my premise, is we can grow a more vibrant community that still embraces the cypherpunk ethos by kind of thinking of different things beyond DeFi. By that, I'm kind of referring to the current scalability landscape. To date, rollups and L2s have focused almost exclusively on DeFi and on replicating the functionality of popular mainnet dApps. Everybody loves Uniswap, everybody loves Aave, everybody loves this crazy degen stuff. Let's do it faster with lower TX fees and 1,000 TPS, that's great. And it's cool to see that. It's so cool to see the L2B chart and TVLs going up. Awesome. So that's cool, but I would say, what else can we do with scalability? You're just seeing DeFi predominate the rollup ecosystem. Another way to put it is, now that we've built crypto economic primitives and financial primitives that can secure rollups and allow, strike the right balance of decentralization and scalability, okay, we have DeFi, but what else can we do? This is where it gets really interesting. So, again, we can grow the community via these new use cases in a way that also helps newcomers leverage and understand the unique properties of decentralization. So we're winning on both efforts there. So what am I referring to here? So this is an idea. I'm deeply indebted for this portion of the talk to my friend Nathan Schneider. He's a professor of media studies at CU. Just actually, I think he's on a book tour right now. Anyway, he was kind enough to bounce around some ideas with me around this talk, and we landed on a few different sort of thought starters and ideas. And this is heavily informed by my discussion to him. So thank you, Nathan. The idea with a community rollup is rollups provide the ability to create new design spaces for communities where multiple discrete projects share the same values and goals, or when they just want to experiment with self-sovereignty. So, instead of DeFi, we're talking about communities on rollups. What would be the benefits of this approach versus maybe just living on any random rollup or living on mainnet? Well, if you had multiple shared valued DAOs or organizations on one rollup, you enjoy all that wonderful interoperability and composability that comes with living under the same consensus mechanism. It's hard to underestimate that. This is very important. This would give projects the ability, or I should say communities the ability to change the base rules how they seem fit. So this is stuff that would be anathema to anything on Ethereum mainnet. I'm talking about modifying credible neutrality, violating immutability. For example, maybe a community would want to have a mechanism for refunding users if they got hacked. Not going to happen on Ethereum mainnet, but within the context of a rollup for a community, absolutely doable. Also, adding default privacy. We've seen that, with like Aztec and some other ones. This could be extended to a community rollup as well. Finally, what I call functional modularity, where multiple DAOs or organizations under a community rollup could play their own unique role in supporting a broader goal or mission. Let's unpack that one a little bit. So I like acronyms, and we're in crypto, so let's call community rollups crews. What's our use case for a crew? Decentralized Reddit would be one idea of this kind of functional modularity. Imagine subreddits as separate entities existing under the same rollup. Each subreddit could even have its own token or governance, giving more autonomy to these communities. However, this would give a decentralized Reddit the ability to create alternatives to the advertising model, the Web 2.0 ad model that I think everybody is sick of and wants to move beyond. Meanwhile, you could have common accounts shared across each subreddit, similar to how Farcaster is working. There's probably a lot of design space to build on here, but this is just one idea of multiple discrete organizations and projects operating under the same consensus mechanism and roll-up. Here's another one, and again, this actually comes directly from a paper written by Nathan Schneider, Sarah Hubbard, et al., entitled Toward Equitable Ownership and Governance in the Public Sphere. This is an interesting one because it's not really being done now as far as I know, but it revolves around co-ops, traditional co-ops. So the definition of these, pulling directly from this paper, these are organizations that are owned and governed by their users. It sounds a lot like DAOs, doesn't it? But the paper highlights some challenges with these DAOs, or with these co-ops. There's a lack of organizational transparency, a lack of effective governance, lack of member accountability, and historically this has created problems for sort of physical meat space traditional co-ops. I mean, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty powerful use case for DAOs. Having just come from Shapeshift DAO, I can tell you, although DAOs themselves have their own challenges, they're very good at encouraging governance. We have effective, transparent voting, getting people more engaged, predictable compensation and patronage, creating better organizational transparency, better member accountability, and facilitating capital formation. These are some DAO tooling benefits right directly from the paper I just cited. So co-ops as DAOs is an untapped use case that could grow the Ethereum community, and in a way that also underscores those all-important cypherpunk values. Because remember, that's why we're here. If we're not living and breathing those values, then we might as well be building a database, and we've done enough of that. So, just to kind of continue with the community roll-up theme, imagine co-ops as a crew. Multiple organizations on the same roll-up, sharing security while enjoying the benefits of scalability and interoperability. So, imagine like multiple nonprofits who are kind of doing their own thing, but they all share the same sort of goal. Let's say, for example, helping refugees and asylees here in the States. Maybe they would choose to sort of gather under the same roll-up, doing their own thing as maybe DAOs, but also enjoying that broader security. Another benefit of this, with the crew approach, these organizations would be easy to fork. You can imagine if a successful regional nonprofit it has a proven model, hey, this is open source. Simply fork the code and create a new one under the same roll-up. Very cool. Network states, so hot right now. This is like, the big thing. Not just with Balaji and what he's proposing, but there's so much going on in the space of network states. You can imagine the community roll-up approach would be a good fit for network states because this provides a good balance of having ultimate economic security and finality, all that good stuff, backed by Ethereum mainnet, as we've seen. This is proven with roll-ups, but at the same time, within the context of a community roll-up, a network state or a group of network states could kind of write its own consensus rules, write its own specific rules of the game, perhaps adding maybe a governance element to the consensus layer within the context of a roll-up. There's so much that could be done here if we just think beyond the limitations of DeFi. Maybe there's ways to incorporate DeFi as well. You might be wondering, okay, that's cool, this idea of moving beyond DeFi, but how do we secure a crew? How do you secure a community roll-up if there's not like transaction fees? Well, for starters, this is about to get way cheaper thanks to 4844. This is a huge upgrade for the roll-up space in general and the affordability of it. Costs are coming down. One interesting sort of approach we landed on discussing this, Nathan and I, is community member subscriptions. So this is powerful. A lot of organizations, especially maybe like nonprofits or co-ops, people believe in the ethos and values of those things so much, they'd be willing to pay a subscription for belonging to the organization. In response to that, they could get maybe an NFT or something. But also, their funds are contributing that could be used to pay for the security of the rollup. Last I saw, I think rollup as a service deployment is something like $3,500. Maybe that was a month, or I'm not sure. But these costs are coming down. Rollups will no longer be the domain of just giant DeFi players. There's a knock-on benefit here, a nice benefit, that this also makes communities stickier, because once you kind of have skin in the game and you have a long-term subscription, you'd be more incentivized to stay with the community. So pretty cool. In addition to that, you could just have donations. You can imagine people donating to support a rollup in situations where they really believed about in the community's purpose. And finally, there could be a situation where there's transaction fees that are relevant here. One example is city DAOs. ATXDAO is one of the DAOs doing this. They engage in some NFT type exchanges and derive fees from that. So TX fees are not completely out of the loop here as far as what could secure a rollup. The sky's the limit, really, depending on the community. So what would be the next steps? For starters, don't underestimate the power of a local grassroots community. Everything you see here is a testament to that. Grassroots is powerful. Meeting in meet space is powerful. It's a way to get it across, or kind of not have to deal with all the noise that comes with being online and engaging with all these very loudly stated opinions and influencers and all that. And it's just fun. So consider starting or joining a local ETH community, or whatever crypto you like. Keep it civil, respectful, peaceful, and fun. The moment we stop being respectful to one another is the moment we turn into, say other ecosystems that have had civil wars and it's ugly, and then the focus isn't on decentralization. Think beyond DeFi. I just offered a few alternatives or ways to think just beyond that. This can grow the community in a way that could powerfully embrace the cypherpunk values. And then imagine scalable, self-sovereign community rollups. The design space here is very promising. So that's my TED Talk. Thank you for coming. If we get things right, I think in another 10 years, we'll have an even more vibrant community that is still decentralized and still embracing the cypherpunk ethos. Thank you.